Why waiting for an apology is a waste of your life. Chapter I. The evil chair. The apology you are waiting for may never come. And that is not your tragedy. Your tragedy is what you do while waiting. You wake up carrying an invisible conversation. You make coffee. You check your phone. Nothing. Another morning passes. Still nothing. You imagine the words they should have said. I was wrong. I hurt you. You deserved better. I should have known. You hear those words inside your head. They sound almost real. For a moment they feel healing. Then reality returns. The room is quiet. The coffee has gone cold. And they still have not apologized. This is where many women lose years. Not because they are weak. Not because they cannot move forward. They simply keep waiting for permission. Permission to stop hurting. Permission to stop explaining. Permission to believe themselves. Permission to close the door. The strange part is this. The person who caused the wound often holds that permission, and we willingly hand it to them. We say, I can move on when she admits it. Or, I can heal when he understands. Or, I need them to know what they did. But there is a dangerous assumption underneath. We assume their understanding will change our reality. It will not. Your reality already happened. The message was sent. The betrayal happened. The disrespect happened. The promise was broken. The silence happened. The night happened. You remember. Your nervous system remembers. Your body remembers rooms they never entered. You remember the exact chair, the exact hallway, the exact time. You remember staring at the ceiling. You remember swallowing words. You remember pretending everything was fine. You remember how small you felt. And maybe they remember none of it. That possibility hurts. But it also contains freedom, because your healing cannot depend on their memory. This is where female Stoicism becomes powerful. Not soft, not decorative, not motivational, powerful. Because Stoicism asks a brutal question. What actually belongs to you? Their apology does not belong to you. Their maturity does not belong to you. Their conscience does not belong to you. Their timing does not belong to you. Their ability to recognize harm does not belong to you. Your response does. Your boundaries do. Your attention does. Your next decision does. Your life does. That distinction can change everything. Imagine your life as a house. Someone entered that house. They broke something. Then they left. Now imagine spending 10 years outside, waiting for them to return, waiting for them to fix the window, waiting for them to replace the broken glass, waiting for them to admit they broke it. Meanwhile, winter keeps coming. You stand outside. You stare at the door. You tell yourself you cannot enter yet. Why? Because they have not apologized. Think about how absurd that sounds. Yet emotionally, millions of people live this way. They postpone their own lives. They wait for someone else's character to improve. They wait for justice. They wait for recognition. They wait for remorse. They wait for a conversation. They wait for closure. And while they wait, life keeps moving. Children grow older. Friendships change. Opportunities disappear. Seasons pass. Your face changes slowly. Your dreams become quieter. Your nervous system gets tired. And the person you are waiting for may be sleeping peacefully. That does not make your pain imaginary. It makes your responsibility clearer. Your pain is real, but your future cannot become its hostage. There is a difference between justice and recovery. Justice asks what they deserve. Recovery asks what you need. Justice may never arrive. Recovery can begin today. That is the uncomfortable gift. You can stop waiting. Not because what happened was acceptable. Not because they deserve forgiveness. Not because you suddenly feel peaceful. You stop waiting because your life is happening now. The present is not a waiting room. It is your actual life. Look around. This morning exists. This breath exists. This body exists, your unfinished work exists, your friendships exist, your ambitions exist. There are still places you have not seen. There are still people you have not met. There are still versions of yourself you have not discovered, and yet one absent apology can occupy your entire inner world. That is too expensive. Your attention is expensive. Give it carefully. A Stoic woman learns this slowly. She stops asking, "When will they change?" She asks, "What can I choose now?" That question sounds smaller. It is actually enormous, because choice returns you to yourself. Maybe they never call. Choose anyway. Maybe they deny everything. Choose anyway. Maybe they rewrite the story. Choose anyway. Maybe mutual friends believe them. Choose anyway. Maybe they live happily afterward. Choose anyway. Their life is not your assignment. Your character is. Your conduct is. Your peace is. Your direction is. This does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming difficult to control. There is a difference. Coldness says, "I feel nothing." Strength says, "I feel everything." Then strength adds one sentence, "And I still choose wisely." That is a very different woman. She can cry, she can grieve, she can miss someone, she can feel furious, she can remember. But she does not surrender the steering wheel. She does not need another person's remorse. She does not need another person's permission. She does not need another person's confession. She needs honesty with herself. And sometimes that honesty sounds like this: "They hurt me. That was wrong. They may never admit it. I will still move forward." There is enormous dignity in those sentences. No drama, no revenge, no performance, just reality. That is Stoic strength, not pretending nothing happened, seeing exactly what happened, then refusing to let it dictate everything afterward. The hardest part is accepting one truth. Some people will never become the person you needed. You may spend years arguing with that reality. You can call them. You can explain. You can send paragraphs. You can provide evidence. You can reconstruct every detail. You can show screenshots. You can remind them of promises. You can explain how deeply it affected you. And sometimes they still say nothing. Or worse, they give you a shallow apology. "I'm sorry you feel that way. I guess we both made mistakes. I didn't mean it like that. I don't remember." Why are you still talking about this? Those sentences can reopen everything. Because now you are fighting two battles: the original wound and the denial surrounding it. This is where you need discipline. Do not argue with someone committed to misunderstanding you. You cannot force insight into another person's mind. You cannot reason someone into remorse. You cannot debate someone into empathy. You cannot negotiate someone into becoming honorable. You can only decide what access they receive. That is your territory. Maybe the most important Stoic boundary is simple. You do not control their behavior, but you control your participation. You control whether you keep checking. You control whether you reread old messages. You control whether you ask mutual friends. You control whether you create imaginary conversations. You control whether you keep rehearsing your defense. You control whether every quiet evening becomes a courtroom. And this is where healing becomes practical. Stop holding trials inside your head. You already know what happened. You do not need a verdict every night. You do not need to reopen the evidence. You do not need to cross-examine memories. Some chapters can remain unresolved. Unresolved does not mean unfinished. That distinction matters. A scar is unresolved history. It is still closed skin. A scar does not require the knife's apology. It only proves the wound became part of your past. You can carry history without carrying the person. You can remember without returning. You can understand without excusing. You can forgive without reconnecting. You can release without approving. and you can move forward without receiving a single word. That is freedom, not the freedom they give you, the freedom you stop asking them for. Chapter 2. The Woman. Wu stops. Explaining there is a moment when something changes. It usually happens quietly. No dramatic speech, no slammed door, no final message. Just exhaustion. You sit somewhere alone, maybe in your car, maybe on the edge of your bed, maybe beside a window. The room feels strangely still, and you realize something. You have explained yourself enough. That realization can feel like grief. Because explaining yourself once felt hopeful. You thought clarity would fix things. You thought the right words would unlock empathy. You thought they simply misunderstood. So you tried again, then again. You changed your wording. You softened your tone. You added context. You removed accusations. You became more patient. You became more precise. You tried being gentle. You tried being direct. You tried silence. You tried distance. You tried everything. Still, nothing changed. Eventually, you discover the brutal truth. Sometimes people understand perfectly. They simply do not care enough to respond differently. That truth hurts. But it also ends a particular kind of exhaustion. You stop searching for the perfect explanation. You stop polishing your pain. You stop turning your suffering into a presentation. You stop trying to make another person understand your humanity. This is especially important for women. Many women are trained to maintain emotional harmony. Keep the peace. Explain gently. Give another chance. See both sides. Understand their childhood. Understand their stress. Understand their intentions. Understand their fear. Understand their perspective. There is value in empathy, but empathy without boundaries becomes self-abandonment. You can understand someone completely and still leave. You can know why they behaved badly and still refuse access. You can understand their wounds and still protect yours. You can love someone and still decide they are unsafe for your peace. Those truths can coexist. Stoicism does not require you to hate anyone. It requires you to govern yourself. That means noticing what your emotions are asking. Anger may demand revenge. Do not obey automatically. Sadness may demand isolation. Do not obey automatically. Longing may demand contact. Do not obey automatically. The mind produces impulses. You decide which ones deserve action. That pause is power. One breath, then another. A message appears on your screen. Your heart moves before your reason does. You want to answer immediately. Instead, you put the phone down. You make tea. You wash a cup. You walk outside. You let the emotional wave pass. This sounds insignificant. It is not. Self-command is built through tiny moments. Every time you resist an impulse, you practice freedom. Every time you refuse unnecessary contact, you practice freedom. Every time you choose dignity over reaction, you practice freedom. Eventually, your nervous system learns something. You are safe with yourself. That may be the deepest form of independence, not needing another person to regulate your emotions, not needing another person to confirm your worth, not needing another person to explain your own experience. You become your own witness. That changes relationships radically. You stop entering relationships hungry for validation. You stop accepting crumbs because silence scares you. You stop confusing intensity with intimacy. You stop calling uncertainty chemistry. You stop interpreting inconsistency as mystery. You stop romanticizing emotional distance. You begin noticing patterns instead. Does this person keep promises? Do they respect boundaries? Do they take responsibility? Can they admit mistakes? Do their actions match their words? Do they repair what they damage? These questions are more useful than chemistry because character is revealed through repetition. Anyone can apologize once. Character appears afterward. Anyone can say they care. Character appears through behavior. Anyone can promise change. Character appears through consistency. This is why waiting for apologies is so dangerous. It can make you focus on words. Meanwhile, behavior tells you everything. Maybe they apologize beautifully, then repeat the same behavior. Maybe they cry, then hurt you again. Maybe they swear they understand, then cross the same boundary tomorrow. The apology becomes theater, and you become the audience. A Stoic woman watches actions. She does not become hypnotized by speeches. She listens, then she observes. She lets reality speak. That requires patience. Because words are emotionally satisfying. Evidence is slower. Someone says, "I have changed." Your heart wants to believe it. Your mind says, "Watch." Not cynically, calmly, watch. Give reality time. Let consistency prove itself. You do not need to punish anyone. You do not need to expose them. You simply stop doing their homework. Let their behavior reveal their character. This principle protects you from endless disappointment. You stop asking, "Why did they do this?" Sometimes that question has no useful answer. You ask instead, "What does this behavior require from me?" Maybe it requires distance, maybe a boundary, maybe silence, maybe a difficult conversation, maybe an ending. The answer depends on the situation, but the focus stays where it belongs, on your response. That is the Stoic shift. From interpretation to action, from obsession to observation, from waiting to living. You begin reclaiming ordinary moments. You notice sunlight across the kitchen floor. You hear traffic outside. You feel warm water on your hands. You take the first sip of coffee. You realize you have been absent from your own life. Not physically, emotionally. Your body was there, but your attention lived somewhere else. It lived in the past. It lived inside someone else's mind. You wondered what they thought. You wondered whether they regretted it. You wondered whether they missed you. You wondered whether they talked about you. You wondered whether they understood. You wondered whether they would ever return. And while wondering, you missed today. That is the hidden cost. Waiting does not always look like waiting. Sometimes it looks like checking. Sometimes it looks like stalking memories. Sometimes it looks like rehearsing conversations. Sometimes it looks like keeping old photos. Sometimes it looks like refusing new possibilities. Sometimes it looks like telling everyone, "I'm not ready." Years can disappear inside that sentence. There is nothing wrong with needing time. Healing cannot be rushed. But healing and waiting are not the same. Healing moves. Waiting circles. Healing asks what you need. Waiting asks what they will do. Healing builds. Waiting monitors. Healing returns you to reality. Waiting keeps you emotionally attached to an outcome. That distinction can save years. You do not have to wake up tomorrow feeling healed. You only need to stop feeding the waiting. Start small. Do not check their page. Do not reread the conversation. Do not ask for updates. Do not invent imaginary apologies. Do not rehearse your response. Do not write the message you will never send. Instead, notice the urge. Name it. I want closure. Then breathe. You can want closure without chasing it. You can want justice without becoming consumed. You can want an apology without waiting for one. Desire does not create obligation. That sentence deserves attention. You are allowed to want something. You are not required to organize your life around getting it. Maybe you want them to regret losing you. Fine. But build a life that does not require their regret. Maybe you want them to realize your value. Fine. But stop using their recognition as your measurement. Maybe you want them to come back. Fine. But do not keep your life frozen at the door. Keep living. Keep learning. Keep creating. Keep laughing. Keep meeting people. Keep becoming someone you respect. not to make them jealous, not to prove anything, not to win. Do it because your life belongs to you. There is a subtle dignity in that. You stop performing your healing. You stop posting things for them to see. You stop trying to appear happy. You stop trying to appear unaffected. You simply become occupied with living. That is different. Real peace rarely announces itself. It looks ordinary. You wake up. You make breakfast. You answer an email. You go for a walk. You finish something difficult. You laugh at something stupid. You sleep deeply. And one day, you realize you did not think about them, not because you forced yourself, because they stopped being central. That is real release. Not forgetting, reordering, they become a fact. Not a destination, a chapter. Not the whole book, a scar. Not the entire body. Chapter 3. The life that does not need closure. One day, you may receive the apology. That possibility matters, but it should not control your healing. Maybe they finally understand. Maybe they finally admit everything. Maybe they say the exact words you needed. Maybe they arrive years later. Maybe they knock on your door. Maybe they send a long message. Maybe they finally say, "I was wrong." And maybe you feel something strange. Nothing. Not hatred. Not triumph. Nothing. Because you already rebuilt your life. You already learned how to sleep. You already learned how to trust yourself. You already stopped explaining. You already became someone new. Their apology arrives. But your healing does not begin there. It began much earlier. That is the point. You did not need their permission. You needed your own. There is a particular kind of sadness in realizing this. The apology you wanted so badly may become irrelevant. Not because it was meaningless. Because you became larger than the wound. You changed. Your priorities changed. Your standards changed. Your understanding changed. You learned what you will never tolerate again. You learned what you need. You learned how you react under pressure. You learned where you abandon yourself. You learned which boundaries were missing. You learned how loneliness can distort judgment. You learned that familiar does not always mean safe. You learned that chemistry does not guarantee character. You learned that someone's potential is not their behavior. You learned that love cannot replace accountability. Those lessons are expensive, but they can become useful. That is another Stoic principle. Do not waste suffering. Transform it. Do not romanticize pain. Use it. Let it sharpen your judgment. Let it strengthen your boundaries. Let it deepen your self-respect. Let it clarify your values. Pain should not become your identity. It can become information. That distinction is everything. You were hurt. You are not the hurt. You were betrayed. You are not betrayal. You were rejected. You are not rejection. Someone misunderstood you. You are not misunderstood. Someone failed to value you. You are not without value. Their behavior is evidence about them. It is not a final verdict about you. That sounds obvious. Emotionally, it is revolutionary, because many women quietly turn someone else's behavior into self-judgment. They treated me badly becomes, maybe I deserved it. They left becomes, maybe I wasn't enough. They lied becomes, maybe I was foolish. They chose someone else becomes, maybe something is wrong with me. Stop, separate the facts. A person's choice is not your identity. Their dishonesty does not make you stupid. Their cruelty does not make you weak. Their departure does not make you disposable. Their inability to love well does not prove you were unlovable. This is where inner discipline becomes essential. You must guard the story you tell yourself, not with false positivity, with accuracy. Say only what is true. I was hurt. True. I trusted someone. True. They broke that trust. True. I survived the disappointment. True. I can choose differently now. True. I do not control whether they apologize. True. I control what I do next. True, that is enough. You do not need a grand declaration. You need reality. Reality is stabilizing. Fantasy is exhausting. And waiting is often a form of fantasy. You imagine a future conversation. You imagine their face. You imagine their regret. You imagine your calm response. You imagine finally saying everything. You imagine them crying. You imagine them understanding. You imagine walking away victorious. The mind loves these scenes. They provide temporary relief, but they also keep the attachment alive. Every imaginary conversationing creates another emotional connection. You are still talking to them. They are still occupying your mind, even when they are nowhere near you. That is why silence can be more powerful than explanation. Not as punishment, as release. You do not have to announce your boundaries. You can simply live them. You do not have to explain why you stopped responding. You can stop responding. You do not have to explain why access changed. You can change the access. You do not have to prove you are done. You can simply be done. There is strength in quiet decisions, especially when nobody applauds them. That is the test. Can you choose yourself without an audience? Can you leave without posting about it? Can you heal without making them jealous? Can you succeed without hoping they notice? Can you become happy without needing them to regret losing you? These questions reveal your freedom, because revenge still centers them. Proving yourself still centers them. Waiting still centers them. Even hatred can become a form of attachment. You keep someone alive through attention. The goal is not to hate less. The goal is to need less. Eventually, their opinion becomes irrelevant, not because you became arrogant, because you became rooted. A rooted tree does not argue with the wind. It bends, it holds, it continues. That is a useful image for modern womanhood. You do not need to become hard. You need roots. Your roots are your values, your boundaries, your self-respect, your friendships, your work, your creativity, your principles, your relationship with yourself. When those roots deepen, other people's behavior loses power. Someone can dislike you. You remain steady. Someone can misunderstand you. You remain steady. Someone can leave. You remain steady. Someone can gossip. You remain steady. Someone can refuse to apologize. You remain steady, not untouched. Steady. There is a difference. Strength does not mean nothing hurts. Strength means pain does not make every decision. You can feel the ache, then choose your next step. You can cry, then wash your face. You can miss them, then keep your boundary. You can feel angry, then refuse to become cruel. You can remember, then continue. That is emotional adulthood. It is not glamorous. There is no soundtrack, no cinematic doorway. Usually there is just a quiet evening, a woman sitting alone, a phone on the table, a message she almost sends. And then she doesn't. That moment may look insignificant. It is not. That is where a life changes direction. Because she has finally understood. The message will not give her freedom. The response might not give her freedom. The apology might not give her freedom. Her freedom begins when she stops outsourcing it. She puts the phone down. She breathes. The room is still. The past remains true. But it no longer commands the present. That is enough. There is another lesson hidden inside all this. You do not have to forgive quickly. You do not have to forgive publicly. You do not have to forgive someone personally. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. People confuse forgiveness with permission. They are not the same. You can release resentment without restoring access. You can stop carrying anger without reopening the door. You can wish someone no harm while keeping distance. You can say, "I hope you become better," and still say, "You cannot come back into my life." That is not contradiction. That is discernment. A boundary does not require hatred. A closed door does not require revenge. Sometimes the most compassionate decision is distance for both people, because constant conflict keeps everyone trapped. Silence can end the cycle, and cycles are often what matter most. You do not want to become what hurt you. That is one of the quiet dangers. Someone treats you with contempt. You begin treating yourself with contempt. Someone manipulates you. You begin manipulating others. Someone becomes emotionally unavailable. You become emotionally unavailable. Someone uses silence as punishment. You begin using silence as punishment. The wound becomes a template. Do not let it. Your character is still yours. That may be your greatest responsibility. Do not allow someone else's poor character to become yours. If they lied, choose honesty. If they humiliated you, choose dignity. If they manipulated you, choose clarity. If they abandoned you, choose reliability. If they broke promises, become someone who keeps them. Not for them, for you. This is how suffering becomes wisdom. You refuse to reproduce the damage. You end the pattern with yourself. That is a form of victory, a quiet one. No applause, no public recognition, no perfect ending. Just a better person walking forward. And maybe that is the apology you were actually waiting for. Not theirs, yours. The apology you owe yourself for the years you spent doubting, for the boundaries you ignored, for the times you stayed too long, for every morning you checked your phone, for every night you replayed the conversation, for every time you abandoned your own needs. You can finally say, I am sorry I left you waiting. I am sorry I kept asking them. I am sorry I made their behavior your responsibility. I am sorry I forgot your life was happening. Then stop. Do not punish yourself for the past. You were doing what you knew. Now you know more. That is enough. Growth is not a courtroom. You do not need to prosecute your former self. She was trying to survive. She was trying to understand. She was trying to keep something she loved. Be gentle with her. Then take her hand. Walk forward. There is a future version of you that knows this already. She wakes up without checking. She drinks her coffee while it is still warm. She walks outside without rehearsing old conversations. She hears a familiar song. Nothing breaks. She passes a familiar place. Nothing pulls her backward. Someone mentions their name. She notices. Then continues. That woman is not fictional. She is being built now. Through every small choice, every boundary, every unanswered message. Every morning you choose yourself. Every evening you refuse to reopen the wound. She is not waiting for someone to apologize. She is living. And that is the real point. Your life is not paused because someone behaved badly. Your future is not suspended because someone lacks accountability. Your worth is not pending another person's realization. You do not need them to understand. You need to understand yourself. You need to know what you accept. You need to know what you refuse. You need to know what you value. You need to know where your attention belongs. And once you know that, the waiting becomes unnecessary. Not easy, unnecessary. There is a subtle difference. You may still feel the desire. You may still have difficult nights. You may still wonder sometimes. That is human. But wondering is not waiting. Remembering is not returning. Missing is not surrender. Grief is not failure. And silence is not defeat. Sometimes silence is the sound of your life returning. Listen closely. There may be no dramatic moment, no final conversation, no perfect closure, just a quiet morning. A clean room, fresh air through an open window, a warm cup between your hands. And suddenly, you realize something. You are no longer waiting. Not because they apologized, not because they changed, not because they finally understood, because you did. You understood that your life cannot depend on another person's conscience. You understood that closure is not always given. Sometimes it is created. You understood that dignity does not require agreement. You understood that peace does not require permission. You understood that some questions have no satisfying answers, and you can still move forward. That is the discipline. That is the freedom. That is the quiet strength of a woman who governs herself. She does not chase every explanation. She does not demand every confession. She does not beg for every apology. She observes. She decides. She accepts reality. Then she acts. There is nothing passive about that. Acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance means seeing clearly. Surrender means giving up your agency. They are opposites. You accept that they may never apologize. Then you decide what happens next. You accept that they may never understand. Then you decide how close they remain. You accept that the past cannot change. Then you build what comes after it. This is where peace begins, not when the past becomes fair, when the present becomes yours again. So let the apology remain unfinished. Let the conversation remain incomplete. Let their version exist somewhere else. You do not need to enter that room. You have another room to build, your own. Fill it with things that belong to you. Books you actually want to read. People who make you feel safe. Work that makes you proud. Music that makes you breathe deeper. Places that remind you life is larger. Habits that make you trust yourself. Standards that protect your future. And silence. Especially silence. Because silence gives you something waiting never can. Space. Space to think. Space to feel. Space to recover. Space to become. And eventually, space becomes peace. The person who hurt you may never know. They may never understand the cost. They may never regret it. They may tell the story differently forever. Let them. You do not have to correct every version of the past. You only have to live honestly inside your version. You know what happened. You know what it taught you. You know what it cost. You know what you will do differently now. That knowledge is enough. You do not need a confession. You need direction. You do not need revenge. You need distance. You do not need their remorse. You need your life, and life is still here. This morning is still here. Your breath is still here. Your hands are still here. Your unfinished dreams are still here. There are still doors you can open. There are still people you can meet. There are still mistakes you can avoid. There are still risks worth taking. There are still beautiful ordinary moments waiting. Do not sacrifice them to an empty chair. Do not spend another season staring at a door. Do not make someone else's silence the soundtrack of your life. Let them keep their silence. You keep your future. Let them keep their excuses. You keep your standards. Let them keep their version. You keep your truth. Let them refuse the apology. You stop needing it. And if they eventually return, you will decide then. Not from hunger, not from loneliness, not from unfinished business, from clarity. That is the difference. A wounded woman asks, will they finally choose me? A grounded woman asks, do I choose this? A wounded woman asks, do they regret losing me? A grounded woman asks, do I respect myself here? A wounded woman asks, will they apologize? A grounded woman asks, what do their actions tell me? That is the transformation. Not becoming emotionless, becoming discerning, not becoming harder, becoming clearer, not becoming independent of everyone, becoming loyal to yourself. And perhaps that is what female Stoicism looks like today. Not a marble statue, not an emotionless philosopher, not a woman pretending nothing hurts, a real woman in a real kitchen, with cold coffee, a tired phone, a heavy heart, and one decision. She will not spend her life waiting for someone else to become accountable. She will become accountable to herself. She will protect her attention. She will govern her reactions. She will accept what cannot be changed. She will act where action remains possible. She will leave what repeatedly destroys her peace. She will forgive when forgiveness becomes useful. She will refuse when refusal becomes necessary. She will love without abandoning herself. She will remember without returning. She will grieve without becoming grief. And she will walk forward, not because the past deserved to end beautifully, but because her future deserves to begin. So if you are still waiting for an apology, pause. Put the phone down. Take one slow breath. Look around the room. Notice what is still yours. Your time, your attention, your choices, your character, your mornings, your evenings, your future. They never had permanent ownership of those things. You gave them temporary access. Now you can take it back, quietly, without announcement, without revenge, without another conversation. You can simply begin. The apology may never come. Your life can. And it is already here. Do not make it wait.